So, in starting the new unit, Aerospace Engineering, we're going to read the Wright Brothers, Pioneers of American Aviation by Quentin Reynolds. And you see on the cover there um, a few things. What I want you to do is look at that cover and just see what type of inferences you can make, see what type of clues you can get about the book just from the cover. Okay, just by looking at it, you can tell the time of the period of time that the story is going to take place. We're looking at black and white. Obviously, some of the tools and things you see on the cover give away the time period in which we're going to be reading. Um, Not current, that's for sure, but I think you can infer for yourself different clues about the Wright Brothers book. So we're going to go to chapter 1. It's called Learning from Mother, excuse me. And I'm going to read to you. I would love for you to follow along. I don't want you just staring off into space. I need you right where we're going to be because when we stop, I expect you to be able to answer the questions I ask. Also, I expect you to know right where we're at. Page 1. Susan Wright wasn't like other mothers. She was younger and prettier than most other mothers. And she liked to laugh and she liked to play games with her three youngest children. Wilbur, who was 11, Orville, who was 7, and Catherine, who was 4. The other mothers would shake their heads and say, Susan Wright spoils those children. Lets them do anything they want. No good will come of it. But Susan Wright only laughed. In the summer, she'd pack a picnic lunch, and she, the two boys, and little Kate, no one ever called her Catherine, would go and spend a day in the woods. Mrs. Wright knew the name of every bird, and she could tell a bird by his song. Wilbur and Orville learned to tell birds, too. One day they sat on the banks of a river near Dayton, where they lived. Wilbur and Orville were fishing. Everyone called Wilbur Will, and of course Orville was Orv. The fish weren't biting very well. Suddenly, a big bird swooped down, stuck his long bill into the river, came out with a tiny fish, and then swooped right up into the sky again. "What makes a bird fly, Mother?" Wilbur asked. "Well, their wings, Will," she said. "You notice they move their wings, and that makes them go faster." "But, Mother," Will said, not quite satisfied, "that bird that just swooped down didn't even move his wings. He swooped down, grabbed a fish, and then went right up again. He never moved his wings at all." "The wind doesn't just blow towards you or away from you," she said. "It blows up and down too. When a current of air blows up, it takes the bird up. His wings support him in the air." "If we had wings, then we could fly too, couldn't we, Mother?" Wilbur asked. "But God didn't give us wings," she laughed. "Maybe we could make wings," Wilbur insisted. "Maybe," his mother said thoughtfully, "but I don't know. No one ever did make wings that would allow a boy to fly." "I will someday," Wilbur said, and Orville nodded and said, "I will too." "Well, when you're a little older, maybe you can try," their mother said. So if we stop and look at the screen here, this is something that has been part of history for a long time. Humans wanting to fly. It's part of folklore, um, um, mythological stories that say or talk about humans that can fly. Raise your hand if you've ever had a dream that you could fly. Yeah, me too. I have a dream that I'm out on the playground. I get a running start and I take off. And whether I have actual physical wings with feathers or if it's just my arms, I have this dream that I can fly. And then I'm up there soaring around thinking, oh no, how am I going to get down? But it's been a desire for humans since the beginning of time to fly. And this is no different. This has been a problem or a desire for a long time. So Will and Orv kind of take the philosophy of, oh, I'm just going to make wings, and that'll solve my problem. But it's more than just the wings that let birds fly. Why can't people fly? And by fly, we mean to move through the air under our own power. That's not saying taking a running start and jumping off a building. You're not flying, you're falling. And if you're in an airplane, you're not flying either. You're sitting, and the jet is the one doing the flying. We're talking about moving through the air under your own power. So when we say fly, that's what we mean. It seems as if it's the wings of the birds that allow them to fly, because that's what we see physically flapping up and down when they want to go higher or faster. But it's not only the wings of the birds that allow them flight. There's many other things, many other reasons why we can't just strap giant wings on our arms and fly away. Few things that birds fly, or that birds have that allow them to fly, include wings, but also their bones. Now, if you looked inside our bones, you'd see a lot of marrow, a lot of junk, a lot of heavy stuff that weighs us down. So when I step on the scale and I see that number, it's not because I ate too many ho-hos. It's because my bones are just heavy. A lot heavier than birds, because birds have hollow bones. So when they look inside their bones, it's nothing, completely hollow, where our bones are full of junk. Also, birds have flight muscles. Well, what does that mean? Well, Nick, I know what he's thinking. He's thinking, I have huge muscles. I could probably fly forever. I could fly from here to Nashville, Tennessee if I wanted to with these muscles. Well, as big as Nick's muscles are, they're not conducive to flying. And we're going to do something real quick. And if you're doing this by yourself, I want you to try as well. I want you to just try flapping your arms for an extended period of time. Now, I don't mean sitting there flapping your wrists. And I don't want you sitting there flapping your elbows. I want you to literally, don't hit anybody, I want you to flap your arms. And I'm going to time you. Go ahead. Just an up and down motion will do. Keep going. All right, go ahead and take a flight back to your seat. Need you to land and listen in 3, 2, 1. Now, I saw a few people kind of grabbing their shoulders, and that was only about close to 40 minutes or seconds. Okay? So, my question to you is, in that 40 seconds of quote unquote flight, what part of your body hurt? You're probably thinking, well, my shoulders kind of hurt, my chest kind of hurts, maybe my biceps, all right? And Nick, strong Nick, with the humongous human muscles said, I think I need to take a pit stop, which means he's tired, because us as humans are not designed to fly. What I mean when I say birds have flight muscles is their muscles are designed for longevity, meaning that they are designed to go long periods of flight with constant movement, where we're designed kind of for those short bursts of energy. Now, our muscles might be larger than birds, but theirs are fit or designed for long flight. If you think about some of the migratory birds that fly days, hours, even weeks at a time to migrate, they're going longer than 40 seconds. And that's because they have the muscle to do it, or the kinds of muscles. Also, the next one down is air sacs. Now, what that means is probably if we were to continue to sit there and flap, even if our arms didn't get tired, we would get short of breath, especially if we were up in the air where the air is thinner. Some of these birds that are migrating are flying at high altitudes, and we know that because you see birds get hit by planes, and you know, these birds are up there, especially a lot of soaring birds. Well, the air is much thinner there, and just like us, birds need oxygen to their brain in order to live. And if they're sitting there not only high in altitude but also flapping constantly, they're going to get shorter breath. Well, not only are they lightweight, but they take in extra oxygen through these little air sacs. So just if you would take a deep breath in so your lungs are full, let it out quietly. Now that's about as much air as you can use. But even if you were had a full lung like you just had, you couldn't do activity while holding your breath in. You're going to want to continue to breathe constantly to get that breath in and out, just like when just like in gym class when you're huffing and puffing. Okay, birds, what they have are those extra oxygen sacs that hold extra oxygen. So not only can they hold what their lungs can hold, but they also get extra oxygen through those sacs. So, just to recap, birds can fly, humans cannot. Birds have wings, people have no wings. Birds have hollow bones, people have heavy bones. Birds have flight muscles, people have arm and shoulder muscles that are not designed for constant heavy use. It's those short bursts of energy that we're designed for. Birds are mostly hollow. With the exception of their internal organs, their bones are hollow, where our bodies are filled with real heavy liquid. And also, birds have lightweight sacs of oxygen, where we simply just do not get enough oxygen or to have the energy to fly. Okay, does that make sense? So, although we might think about it, we are clearly designed differently than birds, which is why we can't fly. That was another thing about Susan Wright. We're on page 3. Most other mothers would have thought that this was foolish talk. Most other mothers would have said, "Oh, don't be silly. Who have ever heard of such nonsense?" But not Susan Wright. She knew that even an 11-year-old boy can have ideas of his own. And just because they happen to come from an 11-year-old head, well, that didn't make them foolish. She never treated her children as if they were babies, and perhaps that's why they liked to go fishing with her or on picnics with her. And that's why they kept asking her questions. She always gave them sensible answers, too. They asked their father questions, too, but he was a traveling minister and he was away a lot. "It's getting chilly," Mrs. Wright said suddenly. "Look at those gray clouds, Will." Wilbur looked up. "It's going to snow, I bet," he said happily. "No more picnics until next spring," his mother said. "Yes, it looks like snow. We better be getting home." As they reached home, the first big white snowflakes started to fall. They kept falling all night and all that next day. It was the first real snowstorm of the year. In the morning, the wind was blowing so fiercely that Wilbur found it hard to walk to the barn where the wood was stored. The wind was so strong it almost knocked him down. He burst through the kitchen door with an armful of wood for the stove, and he told his mother about the wind. "The thing to do is to lean forward into the wind," she said. "Bend over, and that way you get closer to the ground and you get under the wind." That night, when Wilbur had to make the trip for more wood, he tried his mother's idea. To his surprise, it worked. When he was bent over, the wind didn't seem nearly so strong. After a few days, the wind stopped, and now the whole countryside was covered with snow. Wilbur and Orville, with little Kate trailing behind, hurried to the big hill not far from the house.